If you're a facilities manager at a university, you know students rely on the cafeteria for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and the occasional late-night snack. So when a dishwasher breaks down and dirty plates pile up, the mess hall can turn messy in the blink of an eye. Enter Grainger. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast delivery, the product you need now is never far away. So you can turn that dishwasher back into a lean, clean washing machine. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Blog Talk Radio.
No, the lights are on. That means we've started already.
You used to do this to me all the time when we first started out. All of a sudden, I'd see this little sausage finger waving in the air. And I was like, I don't understand what you're waving. And you're like, we're live right now. That's basically what you just did to me.
We're live right now.
Thank you for telling me that.
It's October 9th, 2013.
It's a good
Welcome
thing we
to
did
this week's show of the Sackhead
talk
Studio.
about the battle we just had, pre-production in the Sackhead Studio.
Well, you know...
Hang on a second. Let
this
me
is
set
a
the
tough
scene.
one. All right, you set this up.
Okay. So, listen, we were in a combat zone. We may still be in a combat zone. I'm not sure. I don't think everything's been properly cleared. But I was walking down the hall into the silo, and out of the corner of my eye, something glistened. And it was a web. And in this web was a large, I'm pretty sure it was the biggest spider I've ever seen. Remember the old, Japanese anime movies with, Godzilla, but it was, the big spider?
Yes.
I think that's what it was. You remember.
Yeah, I know. I know exactly what you're talking about.
You were there with me.
Right. Well, it was one of those things, I wasn't paying attention, and then I heard the shriek.
Right.
Okay.
Which was really just me trying to give a warning, right? But it came out more of as a shrill scream, kind of high-pitched. Siren is what I would refer to it
right.
as. Some might call it a yell or a screech. I would call it a siren because I was alerting you to potential danger. So the thing was huge. It was about the size of...
I do have a recording of it. It was pretty... Yeah, that's what it sounded like echoing in the hallways.
And hallways, because it's kind of a maze to get to the silo.
Right, you don't just walk into the silo.
It's kind of like the Pentagon. I can't talk about it.
The only person who gets in here is us and the world's most interesting man.
It was Sacco, which is here. So chemical warfare begins.
Well, yeah.
And I don't even know how it got. It was almost like a pyramid web attached to a singular point up on the wall,
right,
approximately 3 feet up, with the base of the pyramid attached to the ground.
It was some scary stuff.
It was the biggest black widow. It was, in fact, a black widow.
It was
spider, which is known to cause tears upon looking at it.
I believe nowadays they just call it the black murderer. I think they've gone out of widow.
Yeah, because you can't say widow because it's not gender neutral, and we are in California.
Right.
So I'm pretty sure we can't say black widow. So I hope the ACLU doesn't sue us for that. So black murderer, black bringer of violence.
No.
Dark colored bringer of violence. Shaded, shadowy bringer of violence.
How is it still called the Black Widow? Especially, I mean,
it's racist, and it's not gender neutral, right?
You know what? I've never thought about that until we started talking about this. How in this day and age is that spider who kills its mate upon
which is evil,
name.
right? Killing is evil,
right?
And obviously, it's called a black widow. So whoever named it is clearly a racist,
right?
Identifying the
it should
black
be called the red hourglass or violin on the stomach widow maker because it's a killer.
Right, but then you have red, and there were Indian lands in these parts before, and so we don't want that to kind of crimson.
Crimson would be good.
Yeah, crimson hourglass, bringer of doom, I think would be a good one.
Crimson hourglass, bringer of doom.
So this was a
scientists, do you listen? We're renaming this.
Yeah, so this was a crimson hourglass, bringer of doom spider that chemical warfare began on, and Sean started with, I believe it was Elmer's spray glue.
Right, Elmer's adhesive spray glue. Very strong.
Very strong.
We use it a lot in the studio to put stuff up on the walls. It is.
Yeah, we thought, I actually was able to, Sean bet me $10 that I couldn't spray enough on the back of his shirt and he could jump up on the wall.
Like Velcro.
Like Velcro, but do it with his...
I was up there for 5 hours.
It's actually like 5.5. Listen, you're getting silly now. So after the spider broke through the sticky goodness of this glue, I think it was sticky progressive juice, as Rooster would call it.
If you want to picture it, it was just napalm without the flame. That's pretty much what it was.
That's kind of what it was.
Right.
And so then Sean got the WD-40. And I had his back the entire time. I had a 40 caliber pistol aimed at it the whole time, just in case it jumped.
Getting ready to go.
And so with it's not important.
But the other thing that, in case people don't know, WD-40 has time and again. I've used it numerous times.
Like Windex from what movie was that?
Yeah, it fixes everything.
Fixes everything.
But WD-40, you spray it on spiders, and it attacks their central nervous system and kills them. Usually within a few minutes.
Not with this thing. This thing was the Widowmaker.
This was the mama of all widows.
Okay. I'm sorry. Crimson hourglass shaped bringer of doom.
Right. So
that didn't work. Then we had to bring in the bunker buster.
Yeah, that's when it got serious.
It got serious. So Sean got, and notice I'm saying Sean because he's the fighter of spiders.
You lazed the target.
I did laze the target.
Right. You gave me a good sight picture.
I did laze the target. So the bunker buster, this big, I think it was like an 8-foot by 6-foot metal sign.
Yeah, aluminum.
That we got.
Sheet metal.
We each had a side and just crushed down upon.
Which side did you have?
Your side. So then, what was weird, though, is after it was down, we think that would be it, and we started to give a nice little eulogy. It lifted up on that end.
Right. We were talking about what a great competitor it was.
And all of a sudden, it lifted up.
Right. It lifted up, and one arm came over the top.
It was a little bizarre.
It is Halloween time.
So then, Sean, we looked at each other and said, we need to step on it. And Sean said,
I'm not...
It's 2025, a new year, and the perfect time to turn your business dreams into reality. Maybe you've been tossing around a great idea, but haven't acted yet. Well, Shopify is how you're going to make it happen. Shopify makes it simple to create your brand, open for business, and make your first sale. With thousands of customizable templates, you don't need coding or design skills. Just drag, drop, and go. Plus, Shopify's social media tools help you connect all your channels and create shoppable posts so you can sell everywhere your customers scroll. Managing your business is easy too. From shipping to taxes to payments, Shopify handles the details on a single dashboard, letting you focus on what really matters: growing your business. Established in 2025 has a nice ring to it.
Taxes was feeling so stuck. Sitting in traffic, squeezing into a parking spot, all to squeeze in getting tax help during your lunch break. Now Taxes is a TurboTax expert who does your taxes for you, while you go about your day getting real-time notifications about their progress and the most money back guaranteed. Now this is Taxes. Intuit TurboTax. Get an expert now on TurboTax.com. Only available with TurboTax Live Full Service. Real-time updates only in iOS mobile apps. See guarantee details at TurboTax.com/guarantees.
I don't have my shoes on. And I said, what kind of man doesn't wear shoes to a spider fight? This is just ridiculous.
I wasn't expecting to fight spiders tonight.
It was sitting on the wall. You had time to find the glue.
Had to get right into action. No, had to go right to action.
Okay.
Had to get right into it. I'm a man of action.
Needless to say,
I don't primp.
We do have an official warning to spiders posted on the outside.
And if you look on Twitter at Sackheads and photos, it is up there. And we think that should keep us safe from here on out.
For a little while, anyway.
That should pretty much solve the problem, I'm guessing.
Because spiders are real.
Right.
You guys know that the brown, the recluse spider, they just found out has the most strongest web?
Yeah.
Listen, you
can't
say brown recluse because we're in California and Governor Brown just signed a bunch of immigration. I'm seeing a pattern here. And recluse, that's kind of a social disorder, like a psychiatric.
But it could also be determined like they're hiding. Or maybe trying to duck a law.
So why not?
So the brown recluse spider might be a criminal alien.
Interesting. How's about venomous sniper? Right? Because snipers hide, and they're not really reclusive, and it's not like I guess maybe it is no, it's not. How do you like that? Venomous sniper in Crimson Hourglass, bringer of doom.
We're so politically correct, it's awesome on this show. I don't know
Congratulations for that.
I know.
We just wasted like 9 minutes of our listeners' lives.
Well, that's good.
So what's new?
Now the people that really want to hear about politics tonight are stuck in. They knew the trick. We get rid of the wannabes at the first 9-minute mark.
At the first 9-minute mark.
We get to the 9-minute mark and they are gone. Well,
by this point, all the progressives are like, "Oh yeah, this show's nothing.
We have nothing to worry about.
Nothing to worry about."
Click. Let me go back over to Keith Olbermann or whatever the hell they listen to. Rosie O'Donnell, who's still on the air? I don't even know.
Pierce Morgan. I think
Not
he
for long.
sent that bringer of doom.
I think he did too. I think he's out to get us after our comments from last week. I think
what are you talking about? We
don't want him to leave.
We want him to stay.
But the problem is somebody probably told him it was like a backhanded compliment, and then he got mad. At first he listened. He was like, "Oh, great.
Oh, thank you, jolly old chaps," or whatever the hell he says.
Hip hip.
Yeah, hip hip. Thanks for saving our ass in World War II. I don't. Whatever he'd say, I don't know.
But yeah,
I mean, I guess that would apply to the French too, but I don't.
But we owed them one for the Revolution. So there are times where I have to say we're kind of square there.
I think we paid them back in World War.
World War One, huh?
Vietnam.
No, so we are up one. All right, Vietnam, because they were in. Yeah, okay.
Right.
So anyhow, I'm having a good week. My Sox are going to the ALCS.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
That.
Wish Oakland the best of luck tomorrow night.
Thank you.
They're
Oakland,
in a slobber knocker.
What do you call?
A slobber knocker.
Listen, I'm pretty sure you can't say that.
No, we can't.
This is a family show. And what you're checking on the computer over there, I don't.
That's going to be an interesting Game 5. I wish them all the luck, but it's going to be hard fought. That whole series has been a grind fest.
I hope it's not hard fought. I hope the A's just come out and score like 27 runs in the first inning, and I can eat popcorn and hot dogs and drink beer and just relax the entire game.
Yeah. I wish I knew somebody who was going to that game tomorrow, because I would like to see if they give me some pictures from the field. I'm just saying.
I think a challenge has been issued. I think you just challenged me to get you some pictures from the field.
I think I did.
Did the government just shut us down again?
Nope.
Okay.
We are still live and on the air.
That's because we haven't said.
Right. Don't say it.
Obama's a slobber knocker.
Oh.
We haven't said that.
That was the code word. So we're doing good. Other than that, big week in politics, not just nationally, California, and we're going to talk about this because, as we've said before, California is usually the petri dish, if you will, of liberal bacteria.
Right.
Nobody's going to clap at that?
No,
Come on. Thank you.
That was a good one.
It is the test.
Is that what that little piece of paper is, that scrap of paper written in front of your computer?
I wrote that down last week.
Because before you said that, you looked down, and then you said that, and then you threw up your arms like in the touchdown sign. Which was awesome. Oh, we got the applause.
Oh, we do have an applause sign. That's good.
Okay.
That goes with our red light indicator that the show started that I forgot to tell Clint about before the show. But California, who oftentimes comes up with the most ridiculous liberal policies that sometimes end up going national. And because of the demographic of the state of California,
Demographic?
Yeah.
You got like a mix between Democrat
No,
and
demographic.
Okay.
It reflects the country fairly closely.
Not really. California's batshit crazy, and everybody.
No. But I mean the population.
Except for people in New York, they don't know that California's crazy.
Right.
New York City
and Boston.
And Boston.
They just think they're just fine.
Yeah.
And DC. But a lot of times these liberal ideas are tested in California.
I apologize.
To see how they're received by the mass.
Right.
So we have a couple. We're going to talk about
mass, like
by the state of Massachusetts, like gun laws and stuff like that.
I didn't know if it was that or like.
So we're going to talk about a couple of those laws that came through in the last 2 weeks or so, because California does have the supermajority of liberals.
You're an alien. Where's Sean? You just said the word law.
Did I really?
Yes, you did.
So moving on.
I feel like I just entered a Twilight Zone episode.
There's a pod outside the studio where the rest of my body is. So they passed some crazy laws.
There's more.
And, so we're going to get into that. But first, let's talk about the Great Negotiator. That is.
The Great. We have a sound clip.
We do. Let's talk. This was him from today talking about, the government shutdown started. What are we in, day 12 or something like that? I don't even remember. 9. I think we're in day 9.
America held hostage, day 9.
Dun, 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 dun. So apparently, if you watch mainstream media, we're being held hostage by the conservatives in this country.
I didn't know that. I didn't realize I was a hostage right now. Did you?
Well, yeah.
Because I didn't know.
Actually, now I do feel like a hostage at times in this country.
I didn't know I was a hostage by the conservatives. I
right.
Know they were
conservatives holding all of us.
I also
hostage.
didn't know that Tea Party members were anarchists.
Anarchists.
Yeah, I thought that they
faction, right wing, extreme right wing faction.
Yeah, I believe that the Tea Party was for small government.
Right. Versus no government.
Right. Which is weird. I guess I had that definition wrong.
This entire time. Which amazes me, because that explains so much more the anarchists that were involved in the Occupy movement.
Yeah, they were actually conservatives.
They must be.
They must be.
Like uber right-wing Tea Partiers. And I had no idea.
So is it almost like they're so far to the left they've come back full circle
right.
and they're
It's
now
like
to the right?
If you fly west long enough, you'll be going back east eventually.
Right.
Yeah. What a ridiculous notion. They're anarchists. Really? We actually believe in the Constitution, which is the foundation for laws in our society, and gives government what little power it should have.
You know what?
To rule this land.
Hang on.
For you to say that we are anarchists, but yet we believe in the Constitution.
Here's the problem.
So much.
How many people listen to mainstream media and they buy into the argument? How many people actually know what an anarchist is? How many people actually know what the definition of anarchy is? They don't.
They don't.
And so they hear these talking points by the left and, yeah, anarchists. So here, I'll tell you what, Obama administration, I'll make a deal with you. I will start fighting instead of for the Constitution, because that's more government focused, more government power. I'll start fighting for the Articles of Confederation, which were more towards along the lines of anarchy than they were towards larger government. Correct?
Right.
Wait. Ooh, that didn't work out so well. Which is why we had to go to the Constitution, which actually allowed for a little bit stronger federal government, which is what we are for.
Right.
Not for no government, just for limited.
Right.
Never mind, I just completely defeated myself with my own argument.
We say on this show we are a nation of laws.
There you go again.
Laws. We're a nation of laws.
Thank you.
That and they're spelled out in our Constitution.
I don't even know who you are anymore.
So we believe in small government. That's not anarchy. It's actually quite the opposite. It's almost the polar opposite of anarchy. Because the polar opposite would be communism
or
right.
fascism.
Right, which we don't buy or believe in as well. By the way, Alonzo Rachel, he's on PJTV, has a great thing out about Obamacare this week discussing fascism, Nazism, communism, how our republic. If you have a chance, like an 8-minute clip, everyone go check it out. I like Alonzo a lot. It's I'm not going to get into it. It's his bit, but it is pretty amazing. So either way, so we've been stuck in this battle. Vets have been locked out of the memorials that the government doesn't run. You can't go see Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, you can't have an
can't go to
illegal
national
immigration
parks.
rally on National Mall.
Wrong.
What do you mean wrong? Everything's shut down. You
Nope.
can't go to your own business that's on a national park.
I'm going to look
because they
at
shut
inmate
you out.
number 22562, Representative Charlie Rangel, who was arrested.
Yeah, Charlie Rangel. So he can't, listen, there's no, you can't do it on the National Mall because everything was shut down. Right?
And Joe Crowley. I don't know who Joe Crowley is. He's just some guy who hangs out with Charlie Rangel. But yeah, they were arrested because Amnesty, a pro-amnesty rally, was held on the National Mall.
How can that be? It's closed.
Well, with special permission from...
No, they stormed the police officers that were closing the National Mall.
No, it just drew hundreds of activists. No, they were
Hundreds of activists stormed the National Mall?
Yes, at the time that it was closed.
They occupied
the mall.
unlawfully occupied United States property?
Yep. And
How is that not an act of war?
They were arrested.
How did an F-18 not fly over?
They were arrested by Capitol Police.
Okay, good. Charlie Rangel was?
Yes.
That is awesome.
In addition to Charlie Rangel, Joe Crowley, John Lewis of Georgia, Luis Gutierrez, and Jan Kozlowski of Illinois. Thank you very much. Raul Grajalvala of Arizona. Keith Ellison of Minnesota. And
Did you say John McCain of Arizona?
Keith Ellison
Oh, okay.
of Minnesota.
Oh.
And Al Green of Texas. They're all reported
Al
after
Green?
this. Yeah,
Like the musician?
No, I wish. That would have been much cooler because at least he would have been singing. So we're in this humongous shutdown. Nobody can do anything.
How did Capitol Police even have money for booking?
I don't know. But they're not paying benefits to servicemen and women who are dying during war because of the shutdown, allegedly. They've shut down these memorials. They've shut down
Mount Rushmore.
Even
the roadways to where you could view.
Yeah, it's weird. They were pulling.
They're like, not only can you not go to our property,
you can't even look at it.
Look at it. How
They've
dare
shut
you
down
look at it?
non-government funded places that are like national parks, but not run by the government.
Yeah, they tried to shut down Mount Vernon,
Yes.
which is run by the Mount Vernon Ladies Association or something like that.
Right.
It's
So they've gone way above and beyond to make people's lives miserable.
yes.
But they will allow this amnesty. Folks, if you don't think that this president and the liberals have an agenda, please just pay attention to this just for a second, just for a split second. They
Actually, give us
out
like 12 seconds.
maybe like 20 minutes. They locked
2
out
hours.
World War II veterans from a memorial that was privately funded. It does not require any staffing other than like minor janitorial services, and I'm sure the Capitol Police occasionally roll through to make sure nobody's hurt, defacing it, whatever. But there's no everyday funding for it. It's not staffed 24/7 or anything like that. World War II veterans were locked out of that, the memorial that they damn well earned while defending this nation. But pro-amnesty rallies are allowed on the mall by the administration during the shutdown. So
Then how did
World
Charlie
War
Rangel
II
get
veterans,
arrested?
the administration say, screw you,
Yes. And general public.
and general public.
Kids going on field trips.
However, illegal immigrants, come on in. We're going to have a rally for you.
Yeah. On closed federal property that you're not paying taxes for anyways because you're here criminally in violation of statute. Right?
Isn't it just an amazing hypocrisy?
Are you surprised by this? I'm not surprised by this. Listen,
I'm surprised that more people aren't outraged.
I'm not. I'm angry that more people aren't outraged, but I'm not surprised by it because people don't pay attention to this stuff. They hear about it, oh, there was a rally, okay, but I don't think beyond that, they don't look into what's really behind it. They don't draw those parallels. They don't get that deep into it. Like, oh well, yeah, it's a federal park, so yeah, there's no money to run it. Well, it doesn't. It's privately funded or whatever it is. What about the owner of a privately run inn at the Blue Ridge Parkway in North Carolina?
Mm-hmm.
Was shut out of his business, his restaurant, right? He had to lay some employees off, but yet the Fed still wanted him to pay basically not rent, but like the lease or whatever he has to be able to occupy that on federal land. Still want him to pay that and his tax liability for it. Yet they're not allowing him to use it. Right. He finally said, screw you guys, and went in and opened up his restaurant anyways.
Well, I can tell you, Lake Mead, there were some residents out there where they do the 99-year lease on the federal land and all that, were removed from their homes and told they weren't allowed to come back. They're letting them in like once every couple of days to grab a few things because of the shutdown. Well, these people who have a contract with the government to live there, that is their place of residence.
Well, but did you hear? Well, I'm not done with this story yet.
I'm sorry.
Did you hear what happened to this owner of the inn?
I'm going to guess that the federal agents showed up and kicked him out.
Close. So it lasted for 2 hours. Rangers from the National Park Service, so you know the real cops, came to his inn. They blocked the entrances and they physically prohibited patrons from coming in and patronizing his shop.
So they treated it like the World War II memorial.
So, but I want to ask this question: how can Park Service law enforcement officers prohibit people from engaging in business with a private entity?
Right.
Because they're saying you're on federal land. You can't be on federal land in order to conduct.
Sacco, you had a question?
Yeah, just like as a human being, their morals are just like, this isn't right. Let it go.
Well, that brings up a good question. Hang on a second. Officers that do that, and we talked about this a few weeks ago, they're labeled as extremists. There's an organization called Oath Keepers. And Oath Keepers from the Southern, South Carolina Poverty Law Center, whatever the hell that organization is. Yeah. I don't even care enough to give the
Southern Poverty Law Center.
Whatever it is. They actually designate that as an extremist hate
organization,
extreme hate group. Yeah. When that organization, Oath Keepers, says that military personnel and law enforcement personnel took an oath to uphold the Constitution and the laws of whatever their jurisdiction is, and they ask men and women that have taken that oath to simply keep that oath. Right. To follow the law. Not follow laws that are to not follow orders that are unconstitutional. They simply want men and women in uniform on the military and the civil side to keep their oath. It's called Oath Keepers. But yet the Southern Poverty Law Center that has huge influence over the Liberal Party, over policy and everything else, labels that group as a hate group.
So when you say you're talking about morals and doing the right thing, you get that park ranger or whatever. And there's a couple park rangers we'll talk about at the World War II Memorial who did do the right thing. Yeah. They said, hey, I was told to be here. I was told not to let you in. I was actually told to make your life miserable. Enjoy your stay at the World War II Memorial.
Yeah. You know what? Hey, that's
fine.
That's an unlawful.
Right. It was unlawful
I cannot
to close
make
that down.
your life miserable.
Right.
Now, I mean, I understand if there's federal funds involved and everything else. There's an argument.
I get it to a point.
To a point.
What kills me though is we're in this shutdown and essential employees only. Well, these aren't the park rangers that enforce law. These are like the park rangers that walk you around with the Smokey Bear hat and the brown shirts. Not the ones with the guns, but the ones that kind of bring you on the nature hike and explain the laws and stuff like that. The ones at the World War II Memorial were.
Okay.
How are they considered essential employees if those national parks are shut down?
Because, listen, you're taking this way too far.
I understand to a point the guy with the gun who protects life and safety.
Okay, so the guy with a gun that prohibits patrons from going into this private establishment.
Right.
I'm sorry, but if I'm given that order, and if I was a cop,
I'm not going to do it.
I'd say, hey, sorry, I can't prohibit.
I'll take my day on the beach.
Yeah, I can't prohibit these people from conducting business.
Yeah.
Hey, you want me to shut down the entrance to the park so they can't come in? Well, hey, it's park property. I guess
I have to follow. Right. That's not illegal.
Order.
Right.
But if you want me to block the entrance of this business,
no way.
No, sorry, I can't do that.
So we've gone so far, and I love that the left keeps pushing this to the right. But what the administration's done, and listen, a lot of the stuff, I forget, I was watching Representative Chaffetz from Utah, and he said the president, for a lot of things, has the ability to say, this person is now essential and will be exempt from the shutdown. I'd be interested to see who he did that with after all this is said and done. I'd love to see it now, but it's not going to happen. Who he did that with and who he didn't do that with. Because that's going to be a real telltale sign. It probably won't come out until after 2016, but a real telltale sign of where they were going with this. Listen, they put their boots to the neck of a lot of people. They're putting their boots to the neck on the Tea Party they're not even going after Republicans, again, because they're afraid of losing that two-party system. They know that if the Republicans went away and it became a one-party system, people would not stand for it at that point for the most part. So they need that two-party system. They know that the Tea Party's causing that two-party system jeopardy. So, and as we talked about last week, there's even some Republicans that are starting to speak out against the Tea Party, like that idiot from Southern California. They know Nunez. They know damn well what they're doing with this shutdown. They're making it a lot worse on certain groups to gain sympathy.
They're doing it to make it hurt. They're doing it so that the people get even more frustrated and increase pressure to their elected representatives. That's all it's about. And look, we get the game. We know what it's about. But in the meantime, they're trying to demonize and shut down the Tea Party because the Tea Party is idealistic and wants a return to a constitutional government that the progressive left has literally for 100 years has been trying to overturn and incrementally change, fundamentally transform the United States of America. Now, if we had a president that ever said something like that, I would hope the people would pay attention and actually listen.
We do in office.
Oh, yeah.
Right now.
I forgot about that.
But
5 days away from fundamentally transforming the United States of America.
That was a really good one.
Did you like that?
Good job.
Was that awesome?
Good job. It was a good impression of him.
So look, he the Tea Party is it's like Bizarro Superman to the progressives. Right?
Absolutely.
That's what it is. So you have the Tea Party, Superman,
right, and
the progressive left Obama administration, Bizarro, and Harry Reid's included in Bizarro. And
Harry Reid's Emperor Palpatine. Let's keep that straight, okay?
And they're doing
Senator Palpatine. Sorry.
They're doing battle, but really it's the left has to demonize that Tea Party movement because right now it is a minority movement. Mm-hmm. Which should make it a protected class. No. But it's a minority. Doesn't matter. That's a good point. It's hated. So they're a minority group of individuals, but they're gaining power, and their goal and the ideals, and people are starting to have conversations now more about founding principles and individual liberties. We had Colorado just had 11 counties in the northeastern part of the state now that want to secede from the state of Colorado, and the idea has even been floated about them joining with Montana. So, look, this movement, these ideas are gaining momentum. Absolutely, and the conversations are starting to be had again, and that's what scares the progressive left in this presidential administration, which is why I think they're demonizing the Tea Party so much, because they view them as a threat. Look at Jump Vote. Yeah. That is great friends of ours. It is a huge risk, right? Or danger. And I'm sure that, and Greg knows this, I'm sure that he has watched so much because of Jump Vote. Yeah, I guarantee you. And all he wants to do, and all they want to do is put principled leaders in office. Yep. And imagine that. Which is what we need and what our founders talked about. But you know what? Talking about our founders nowadays is considered an extremist. It's blasphemy. It's extreme views to want to go back and live by our Constitution. Unbelievable where we are. We're against the break. That's where we are, which is unbelievable because this first 30 minutes just flew by. Yeah. So let's take a quick break. We'll be back at 3. Come back. We'll play the Obama speech from yesterday. Back in 3 seconds. Radio.
I'm Lori, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is Hillsdale President Dr. Larry Arnn on how the founders viewed God as the source of our equality and legal rights.
America's founders knew, obviously, that human beings are not equal in terms of strength or beauty, or in terms of intelligence, industry, or talents. They understood that because of such differences in talents and things like that, some people will be wealthier than others. But human beings are equal, the founders believe, in their possession of natural rights, such as the rights to life, liberty, and property. Today, many Americans reject this equality of rights in order to pursue equality of condition through redistribution, or spreading the wealth around, to use a famous formulation. This is destructive of liberty as the founders understood it.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.org.
Hey guys, it's Sean from Sackheads Radio. I know I've said it before. Check out our friends at conservativeoutcry.net, but I really mean it. You want interesting and exciting political commentary and analysis? That is the place to get it. Different, always spot on, always truthful, never pulling a punch. conservativeoutcry.net. Tell Rooster to get Bulldog back on and that Sackheads Radio sent you. And also, coming soon, the Sackheads Radio Forum on conservativeoutcry.net.
How you doing? John Grant here. When I'm not slaving over a hot microphone on the 405radio.com Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, I check out Sean and Clint here at Sackheads Radio. We all appreciate the best political bloggers, writers, and commentators. We either get them on our shows or we make fun of them, as it should be. So check us out live Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern or forever on the podcasts on the 405radio.com.
Hi, this is Sarah Marie Brenner. You know, we often talk on the Brenner Brief about the fact that there really needs to be an organization to help people at the local level who are interested in running for things like school board, city council, and other local offices. Well, I think I finally have the solution for you, at least for you women out there. It's called Politigal Network, Politigal Network.com. Their website's going to be launching mid-August, but they're already on Twitter at PoliticalUSA. I encourage you to follow them and become a member. Their goal is to be the #1 resource for conservative women. So if you love freedom, liberty, the United States of America, and politics, check out PoliticalNetwork.com or Twitter at PoliticalUSA.
Now back to Clint and Sean on Sackheads Radio, radiating elegancy and quality.
And we're already here on the second part of the show. Man, the time just flies when you're absolutely frustrated with government and want to scream on a regular basis. So we're talking about the Great Negotiator and the shutdown before the break, and just how the mainstream media is just absolutely using this to push their agenda.
Useless.
Yeah, useless. They're missing so much. And it's funny,
but
I will admit that
push your point of view. We push your point of view.
Well, we are an opinion show.
Okay.
We base it off facts, but we are an opinion show. They describe themselves as honest media, but it's really just an opinion. And
you're talking about Fox News, obviously.
Well, actually, you know, not to give Alonzo 2 plugs in one night, but he has another great thing about conservatives. Instead of relying on mainstream media to do their job, just start developing honest media, and then you won't have to worry about it.
And that's what we've done here at Sackheads Radio.
That's what we're doing here at Sackheads Radio. But I look at a report. There was a report today on it's from Washington Post, Associated Press, poll. Republicans get most blame for the shutdown, but no one's a hero. And they go through the first 7 paragraphs, interviewing people as to who they think is responsible for the shutdown. A lot of people saying Republicans. Then they get to a little poll that they did that they kind of toss in at the bottom. So if you get bored of the ranting halfway through, you miss it. And I'll just read the article directly. Most Americans disapprove of the way Obama is handling his job. The poll suggests with 53% unhappy with his performance and a 37% approval rating.
What?
37%.
Yeah, he's doing a great job. Listen, with speeches like the one he gave today, just play it.
Fine.
This morning I had a chance to speak with Speaker Boehner, and I told him what I've been saying publicly, that I am happy to talk with him and other Republicans about anything. Not just issues I think are important, but also issues that they think are important.
And that's why I will not negotiate on anything.
But I also told him that having such a conversation, talks, negotiations, shouldn't require hanging the threats of a government shutdown or economic chaos over the heads of the American people.
I will not negotiate.
Think about it this way.
I will not negotiate.
The American people do not get to demand a ransom for doing their jobs. You don't get a chance to call your bank and say, I'm not going to pay my mortgage this month unless you throw in a new car and an Xbox. If you're in negotiations around buying somebody's house, you don't get to say, well, let's talk about the price I'm going to pay, and if you don't give me the price, then I'm going to burn down your house.
I will not negotiate.
That's not how negotiations work. That's not how it happens in
I will
business.
not
That's not
negotiate.
how it happens in private life. In the same way, members of Congress and the House Republicans in particular don't get to demand ransom in exchange for doing their jobs. And two of their very basic jobs are passing a budget and making sure that America is paying its bills.
I will not negotiate.
They don't also get to say, you know, unless you give me what the voters rejected in the last election, I'm going to cause a recession. That's not how it works. No American president would deal with a foreign leader like this. Most of you would not deal with either co-workers or business associates in this fashion, and we shouldn't be dealing this way here in Washington.
I will not negotiate.
I've heard Republicans suggest that, well, no, this is reasonable, this is entirely appropriate, but as I've said before, imagine if a Democratic Congress threatened to crash the global economy unless a...
So, and he goes on and on and on about how it's all the Republicans' fault, and you can't burn down houses you want to buy, apparently.
Why is he negotiating?
Exactly.
Because hang on, let me check something here. Now I have this.
You've read the Constitution once or twice.
The Constitution or the Tea Party book for extremism?
I'm sorry, the Tea Party book of extremism.
Yeah, the Tea Party book for extremism, also known as the United States Constitution. Article 2, as we discussed, talks about the powers of the president, and Section 2 of that says exactly what the president can do. It's a lot. He shall be commander-in-chief of the Army and Navy of the United States and the militia of the several states when called into actual service. He may require the opinion in writing of the principal officer in each of the executive departments. Does that mean that he can't get their opinion orally? They have to be in writing?
Yes.
Interesting. He shall have the power to grant reprieves and pardons for offenses against the U.S. except impeachment. He shall have the power, with the advice and consent of Congress, to make treaties, nominate people, make appointments. Yeah, that's it. Nowhere in there does it say that he can make laws or negotiate with laws.
What?
He has to. Yeah. He signs them.
All right. Well. All right. Let's just.
Hang on a second. I just want to make sure I'm not completely off base here. Article 1, Section 1. All legislative powers herein granted shall be vested in a Congress, which shall consist of a Senate and a House.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's it. That's Article 1.
When does it say the Senate and the House must agree?
Well, they have to in order to pass laws.
No. I just mean at all times. That the controlling party mandates that you must agree with them in order to pass something through.
Well, now which controlling party? Because
either
one party controls the House and the other party controls the Senate.
It doesn't matter. So where in there does it say that whichever political party is in control is the ones that are allowed to decide how the negotiations shall go?
Yeah, it doesn't. That's
not written in. I thought Jefferson had something like that written somewhere.
No.
Oh, maybe that was George Jefferson. I don't remember.
It might have been George Jefferson.
I think I heard that at some point. the point is why is he even, when it comes to budget, when it comes to money, why is he even, I put forward a budget? That's not your job.
Your job's not to put
At the
forth
end of
a
the
budget.
day, low information voters, come here for a second.
You're the executive, so guess what? You handle executive stuff.
The president's job is to not feed the country. The president's job is to not give away free stuff. The president's job is to not demand negotiations between Congress. He can ask for them to negotiate. If he came out during this whole lockout thing, our government shutdown thing, and said, hey, guys, I'd like you to figure this out. Get back to me when you do, because we need to keep going. And I'm not even to the debt ceiling yet. His job is to not put forth the budget. His job is to not executive order gun laws so they don't exist. None of that stuff. That's not his job. So when you call for the president, when you voted for him for hope and change, when you vote, that was all, what's the word I'm looking for, bullshit. That's not his job. Congress jobs are to create laws of the land that the president then can sign or veto or however, but they're the ones who put it forth. I know we think that it's the Democrat or the Republican's job to start a law and push it through, which is fine if the parties want to do it, but it's the actual Congress. It says nowhere in the Constitution that this party or that party or whatever. So pay attention to what's going on, because what's being rammed down your throat by mainstream media and Twitter in a lot of cases and flash media, it doesn't exist as much as they want it to, because they want to give him total power. This just in from the Exceptional Conservative Show. Federalist Paper 58, Section 3 says, demand with the money be in charge. And we'll have to verify that.
We'll have to verify that. I'm pretty sure that's a quote. That may be a quote. Hang on, I want to read something because I just found something in the Constitution that is kind of interesting.
You mean the
Tea
Party Anarchist Handbook?
No, this is kind of interesting. Article 39, citizens in the system ensures enlargement of the rights and freedoms of citizens and continuous improvement of their living standards as social, economic, and cultural development programs are fulfilled. Citizens have the right to work, guaranteed employment and pay in accordance with quantity and quality of work, including the right to choose their type of profession. Citizens have the right to rest and leisure. Citizens have the right to health protection. Article 43, citizens have a right to maintenance in old age. Article 44, have the rights to housing. Article 45, have the right to education. Article 46, have the right to enjoy cultural benefits. Article 47, citizens of the USSR in accordance with... Yeah, never mind. Forget I said anything. I was reading the wrong Constitution. So forget I said anything. I'm going to apologize for that. Wow, I'm embarrassed.
That wasn't ours.
It was the Constitution, and it had articles, so obviously I thought, and I mean, everything was just lockstep in line with what the Democratic Party wants to accomplish, so
Did you say lock goose step in line?
I did.
Okay.
So I thought I was reading the right one. Apparently I wasn't. But hey, we're the extremists. So
we're the nutcases.
Yeah, the USSR, they had it right. They were, listen, I apologize, folks. I'm so embarrassed right now with that. I had no idea.
So, this is awesome. And there's supposed to be...
Hang on a second. Did that not sound like Obama's agenda?
Yeah.
Then what are you arguing with me?
Well, I'm not arguing with you. What website was that on?
Oh, just look up, all you have to do is look up USSR Constitution or USSR Constitutional Rights. You can pull up all the texts from their 1936 Constitution, the 77 Constitution, you know, from their good democratic years.
From the years they were really nailing democracy.
Right. And I don't know who democracy is or why she was in the Kremlin, but they were all over her.
She was a double agent. Oh, but seriously, folks, we're screwed. So where do we go from here?
Is that a question, or are you going to answer it?
Half answer, because allegedly tomorrow they're actually going to start meeting again, the Democrats and the Republicans. The Democrats apparently have a budget temporary continuing resolution that they want to try to put
The
forward.
Republicans did, I thought.
I think the Senate Democrats have one as well.
Oh, okay, good.
So that. But,
I was worried they weren't doing their job.
And I respect your opinion with things like this. If you're John Boner,
okay,
what do you do right now? Seriously.
Look,
has the point been made?
No.
Okay.
And here's why I say that. Listen, despite what the president thinks Congress's job is, obviously he doesn't know, or he knows the Constitution very well and doesn't respect it, which makes him dangerous. But he keeps trying to lecture and educate through his speeches the American public about what Congress's job is and is not. And he doesn't do it from a constitutional standpoint. He does it with half-truths about budgets and so forth, and is really, I believe, purposely misleading the American public about what Congress's job is. And he's talked a few times about, listen, the law's passed, it was voted on, it passed, it's constitutional, we had an election about this, nothing Congress can do about it. That is so blatantly false. Look, Congress, they hold the legislative powers. It is their job to do something about it. And in the House of Representatives, their job is to represent who? Their job is to represent the people, their constituents. And Obamacare is widely unpopular with the American people. And the representatives are, in fact, representing their constituents by making it an issue. So that's their job to do that. And if they decide to put it in a spending bill or in a budget, whatever the heck they decide to attach it to, or withhold funding for whatever, guess what? Congress has the power of the purse. They can do that. That is their job. They are acting within their constitutional authority and attempting to enact some form of change or reach some form of agreement on Obamacare, which is what the American people want. So the president's narrative is blatantly false. He's doing it to stir emotion. He's doing it to try and get people angry at Congress, or specifically the House, which is controlled by the Republicans. But if you look at what their constitutional duties are, they are fulfilling those duties. They are doing exactly what it is they were sent there by their constituents to do. So if I'm Boner, what do? I keep going. I keep up the good fight because I can't give in without failing to represent my constituents. Now the Senate is failing. Look, states are having problems with this implementation of Obamacare, and Senate used to represent the interests of the states. They don't anymore. The states lost that power with the passage of the 17th Amendment. Thank you very much, Woodrow Wilson and the Progressives.
Nailing it.
So that was a huge hit to states' rights. And I don't know that you can get that back. I mean, you'd have to have a constitutional convention. That's a whole segment in and of itself because Congress isn't going to do it. The states would have to do it. And Congress, I think, would piss all over itself if the states called a constitutional convention for that purpose. But to get back to your question, no, they can't give up the fight. And the president is it's not his job to negotiate. Now, look, if they can pass a bill and send it to him and he doesn't have to sign it, that's his job. That's where he gets his say.
Right.
And then he can send it back. But the problem is he doesn't want to do that because then it's on him.
Exactly.
Not on them.
Exactly.
And the House has passed 4 bills. And this is a negotiation by definition because what they start with. First they said, look, we want to completely defund Obamacare. The Senate said you're out of your mind. I believe that's a direct quote from Harry Reid. I'd have to look it up.
You're out of your mind.
Yeah, you're out of your mind. He breaks it up so we can't get a sound clip.
Right, exactly.
So the second one was okay. We'll go ahead and just look. We'll get rid of the exemption, or we'll delay it a year. It's not ready to go anyways. You're going to have a bunch of problems.
You've already said
because
this
it's a
is
government
okay
operation.
For businesses and unions and all this.
Let's just let it go, right?
Right.
Equal protection under the law.
Right.
Nope. no, we're not doing that. So then they came back a third time. Okay, look, it'll go in right away, but let's strip out the exemptions, right? Equal protection under the law.
Everyone's
which
the same.
I'm pretty sure is one of the principal. And anyways, that's such an extremist view. So let's strip that out. And what did the Democrats say? They came back and they said, no.
No.
Just no. So what? How is that?
How is that at all negotiating?
Well, how are the Republicans not trying to meet some kind of common ground?
Right, they've changed it.
They've
gone from
the House has
defund,
done,
delay. They've broken it.
Oh, and then the fourth measure was, hey, let's get a committee together and talk about some of this stuff.
No, we don't want to. We don't want to get a committee together. We don't actually want to do what a Congress should be doing right now.
So four bills the Republican-held House has passed.
Mm-hmm. Gone to the Senate and boned every time.
Yeah, well, no, boned sent it.
Right.
There.
Sorry, my bad.
Yeah, it got readed.
You
not
brought
read.
up a really, really good point.
Of course I do, and that's the whole point, Sean. I bring up really good points, and that's kind of what I'm saying here. Thank you for noticing that.
From the chat room, real quick, I'd go to the golf course and leave Obama a read to work out the budget with Congressman Paul Bourne from Georgia. That would be an interesting conversation, to say the least. You said if it gets to his desk, he has to sign it or not. And if he doesn't sign it, the pressure goes to him. With Obamacare hitting and being a mess right now, especially on the federal level, there's the story of Chad. I don't know if you've heard about the legend of Chad.
The country, about how the country was formed.
No, the poster boy for Obamacare that talked about all the great coverage he signed him and his father up for and how they're saving all this money, and he's a college student, blah, blah. And then it came out the next day when somebody found his dad and interviewed his dad, and his dad was like, yeah, that didn't happen. But everyone went to press with it, like, hey, look at this guy. He's the Obamacare poster boy. The legend of Chad is what they were calling it on Twitter and all this other stuff.
Nice.
So that's hitting it, and it's not going well. Listen, if the government shutdown wasn't occurring right now, which tells you how much, too, the administration is enjoying this more than you would like to think if you were a lower information voter or an idiot, is that a lot of the Obamacare stuff is silting to the bottom of the pile because of the shutdown. They throw it in the face. They're locking out those World War II veterans. They're having the amnesty. But Obamacare is a train wreck right now.
Yeah.
And it continues.
And the longer this shutdown goes on, the more hardball the Democrats play, the Obamacare is not getting covered in the media.
Right.
What's getting covered is the shutdown.
Right.
Not the Obamacare mess.
So don't think that this isn't appreciated by the Obama administration right now on some level. Listen, California just came out with its numbers from the first real week and said it was something like, wasn't it like 9,000 people that got signed up, like some ridiculously low number.
That's like half the state population, right?
We could have a sign up for the Sackheads Radio webpage. Like you had to sign in and sign up in order to access it. And we could do well over 9,000 in the first week, right, Sacco?
Over 9,000.
All right, so he says it might already be over 9,000. But the point is this is the federal and state, but the federal program that's had, 4 years?
Hang on, I think you just summed it up right there.
Federal.
Unwittingly.
Federal.
Unwittingly. Listen, federal government, fewer than 9,000 in the state of California. Sackheads Radio, private organization.
More than.
Boom. That was
Right?
us blowing it up.
Right?
Private enterprise.
But
something else, though, on that same note, and I don't mean to interrupt it, but I kind of do because I knew you needed to call.
No, by all means.
Is this? Yeah, go ahead. Totally missed my point.
The other thing, too, is our Senate Democrats intentionally protecting the president from not even getting that bill to his desk.
Yeah, of course they are.
But how come that isn't discussed? They're trying to say that obviously we're saving, we're protecting Obamacare. It's the law of the land. Funny, they don't think it's the law of the land when it comes to the Second Amendment. They love to tear that one up.
Yeah.
That whole law of the land thing goes out the freaking window, you jackasses.
Oh, law of the land thing also goes out the window with immigration. And
the law of the land. Oh, well, why don't you just ignore that?
Or like the national mall shut down.
Was that Barack Clinton I just did? I just did the worst.
It was
Obama impression.
I don't know.
Ever.
I think it was like Barack Bachman, like Barackman. like Michelle Bachman and Barack Obama.
No, it was like
Barackman.
a Clinton-Obama hybrid. That wasn't a good one.
Know. You know what, though? Hey, notice how the sun rose the following day, and it has for, all these last several days of the shutdown? So obviously we're okay, and the federal government can operate on some level without everything that's closed. See, limited government works, folks.
One way or the other.
One way or another. We're still living.
And hey, I'm a realist. I understand that there
the lights
are
are still on.
Necessary services to our veterans that are again, kind of being held hostage by the administration, but that need to start going again. There's some things that do need to start going again. I understand that. We're not completely idiotic, but what's it? 60% of the government is operating during the shutdown or more. So that's 60. Imagine if 60% of this country was working right now. Because I think it's less than that. I think it's less than half this country works right now. So there's more of your government working right now during the quote-unquote shutdown than there are people in this country, because they're not going to let their jobs be affected by it. It's you people that will be affected.
What do you mean, you people?
I mean you and you.
Oh,
and
I thought you were...
No.
Okay.
No, come on. We talked about this. We talked about this like a month ago.
I didn't know what you were referring to.
When I say you people, I mean you people.
Right, my people.
Right.
Okay,
good. God, I hate having to go through stuff like this on the air. It's very confusing. Ken in the chat room saying that only 17% of the government is closed right now.
And that's the 17% that's enjoyed by school children and veterans.
So that's 83% of the government is running right now. And amazingly, we still get through every single day, on and on and on. I think that Boner needs to stay hard.
Listen, Boner...
I couldn't even do that again if I tried.
Boner needs to stay on point.
He does need to stay on point.
He needs to stand firm.
Right. He needs to keep his nose into the wind.
Yep.
And
yep.
No, he's going to stick. Listen, this is the most popular Boehner's been in years with conservatives, because he's actually not getting... He's showing signs he might bend a little bit here and there. I understand having to negotiate without giving the House...
Boner can lick this thing.
In the past, he is...
What?
In the past, he's given up prematurely.
Do you think Boner and Wiener are getting together and kind of working out some of the...
No, because remember, Wiener got ejected from Congress.
Oh, that's right, he did.
He got replaced.
I wonder if Boner is allowed to go in the front door of the White House, or if Boner has to go in the back door when he's dealing with Obama.
I think he's in the side, which is something totally unheard of. Yeah,
that's kind of weird.
But listen,
look, I don't know. I know Harry Reid goes in the front. I bet Boner goes in Obama's back door before he goes in, and they have a meeting.
In the past?
Look, I'm just throwing it out there.
In
like
the past,
Boner does.
Boner has
just
gone
it out
soft
there
on topics very quickly, almost prematurely. Some would say.
Yeah.
Now,
what are you talking about?
What? We're just talking politics.
Yeah.
But now he's actually standing tall for once.
Which is rare at his age.
Right, without assistance, which he's getting from the Tea Party now.
Exactly. They're kind of propping him up with a popsicle stick.
It's kind of like Boner's little blue pill.
Right, or like Boner's posse back.
We're going to take a break and try to salvage some part of the show. It's getting worse and worse. I can't wait to hear the sound clips that get thrown out of that whole
Hey, if Boner drinks whiskey, does he get whiskey? Never mind.
He might. I don't know. We'll be back in a minute. Sackheads Radio.
Hey, if you care about what's going on in the world, you cannot afford to miss my show. Hi, this is Andrea Kaye, your host of The Andrea Kaye Show. It's not always about the money. Okay, it is always about the money, but it's also about politics, pop culture, and you. The only thing street about this show is the smarts. There's a reason they call me Dynamite in a Dress, and you'll find out why when you listen Tuesday mornings at 10 on Financial News and Talk.
Hello, I'm Paul, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is my professor, Dr. Larry Arnn, on the separation of church and state.
America's founders believed in the separation of church and state, in that the country was not to have an official religion or an official sect. But that did not mean that government was to be hostile to religion, or even indifferent to religion, as many today argue. In fact, America's founding document, the Declaration of Independence, includes both a reference to God as the author of the laws of nature and a confident assertion that human beings are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. Far from being hostile or indifferent to religion, America's founders understood the theology of the Declaration to be an essential part of the education of citizens.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.org.
How you doing? John Grant here. When I'm not slaving over a hot microphone on the 405radio.com Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, I check out Sean and Clint here at Sackheads Radio. We all appreciate the best political bloggers, writers, and commentators. We either get them on our shows or we make fun of them, as it should be. So check us out live Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern or forever on the podcasts on the 405radio.com.
3, 2, 1.
Hey, this is Sackhead Clint. I want to take this opportunity to thank all the wingnut leaders throughout the world, to give our men and women of the armed forces a job, as well as all the anarchists, terrorists, and Occupy folks that give our men and women in uniform on the home front, firefighters, law enforcement personnel, and first responders, job security here in the States as well. So thank all you wingnuts out there. This is Sackhead Clint saying have a good day.
Now back to Clint and Sean on Sackheads Radio, radiating elegancy and quality.
And we back here for part number 3 of the Sackheads Radio Show. 347-205-9399. If you want to join the show, we may even take a phone call tonight if we get around to it. Now, I do have to brag a little bit. So we've been calling Speaker Boner now for going on close to a year.
Yeah.
Since we've been live, definitely. So over a year since we got away from the podcast.
I said yes. Will you just get on with it?
I'm telling them.
Oh, I apologize.
I know
I thought,
you
I didn't
know.
I thought we
You were here with me most of the time.
Are we still on a break?
No, we're back.
Oh, I didn't know that. The red light's not on.
It is on. You're
It's
looking at
not
the wrong
on.
light.
Oh, that's the green light.
That's the coffee pot light.
It's still a red light?
Anyhow, on Twitter this last week and a half, 2 weeks or so, I'm starting to see more and more people refer to him as Boner. And I'd like to think that that's yet another trend.
Is the term boner coming to a climax?
Yes. Finally.
It's taken a long time.
It has.
I was wondering if it lost sensitivity.
It's finally caught on.
Okay.
So I'd like to think we... Even Sacco's got one. It's a good night here at the Sackheads Radio Show. So we're in this whole government shutdown thing, and we're getting close to the debt ceiling. Partial, 17%.
Okay.
And we're getting to the point where we need to either raise the debt ceiling according to the president, or we're going to default, which, no matter which economic study you look at, we make enough money to pay our interest and not default. So that's been dispelled a million times over, even though Jack Lou's gone. He was on Fox this week. He was on all the Sunday shows talking about how it's so mandatory we raise the debt ceiling. I got into an argument a couple weeks ago with on Twitter with one of the CNN employees, newscasters, who said, "Oh, we must raise this debt ceiling, or we're going to be the deadbeats of America." And I said, "Hey, how about instead of worrying about the debt ceiling 8 years later, why don't we just stop spending as much money?" He said, "Well, we're already at this point." Well, we're going to always be at this point if we don't make legitimate changes. I understand we're up against the debt ceiling, and as the president said, just raising the debt ceiling doesn't mean we're going to spend more money. No, it does.
Oh, yeah, it does.
It may not be right now, but you're going to spend more money because that debt ceiling's there. The debt ceiling, look at it like your credit card.
Look at it like the Kardashians.
Right.
So if they have a $50,000 card, they're going to spend how much money?
$55,000.
Exactly. That's my thought. So so you raise the limit to $100,000.
$125,000.
Okay. What's so hard to understand? See, for all the low information voters out there,
you go.
We just equated it to reality TV.
Look at it like
boom.
Honey Boo Boo.
Okay.
If she's allowed 6 cupcakes a day,
okay,
but she's going to eat 7.
Right.
And then if you up it to 10, she's going to eat
14.
12.
Oh, I was going
right.
to say 14, right.
14, 12, doesn't matter.
It doesn't
she's
matter
keep
a lot.
Eating more and more.
Yeah.
The point is at some point, we have to look at serious budget reform in this country so we don't get up against this debt ceiling. We're not going to default if we don't pass the debt ceiling and raise it. We're going to be able to pay the bills. It'll be harder, and they may have to actually cut other places in the future.
We talked about this last week. With China, with the Asian market,
yes,
having as much invested in U.S. Bonds and so forth, they're not worried about it.
Right, and they shouldn't be. So that's a non-starter in my opinion when you're talking about this partial shutdown. That shouldn't even be an issue. And the president is once again, and Democrats are making this an issue because it deflects away from what the real problem is. So don't believe any of that crap either.
I don't. Why are you yelling at me right now?
I'm not yelling at you.
Look, you have your bladed hand right now, and you're pointing it in my general direction. It's almost like you're making a number 4, but rigid, and you're pointing it in a perpendicular manner at me. Almost like a Nazi salute, but like straight on, like you're jabbing a knife into my soul, like you're that spider staring into my soul and jabbing your little spider knife into my soul as you're making your point. I don't even understand. Who are you right now? First you say law correctly,
I did say,
and
law
now you're
correctly,
using your
and
death
I apologize
grip
for that
salute of doom jabbed at me.
So let me ask you, before we get off the debt ceiling and the boner, let me ask you,
why are we going to get off the boner? That's getting great play right now.
How long do you see the shutdown going before the Democrats actually give in? Or will the Republicans give in first?
Okay.
Because that's a potential that I think it's possible that would happen. Okay. God forbid I talked over you for once.
Yeah, God forbid you ask a question and then talk over it. It's my job to do the talking over in this show. I think Sacco muted my mic. That was weird. I was talking the entire time, and I think Sacco muted both of our mics to kind of scold us and put us on like a timeout.
Yeah, we just got put on a verbal timeout.
We just got on an electrical timeout because he knows I can't even override that because I have no idea where the button is.
You don't even know which one the microphone.
I don't even know what a button is.
My favorite was about 2 weeks ago when there was 2 microphones near you and you know which one to talk in. And you've been using the same one now for about a year and a half. So answer my question.
Which question is it?
How long do you think the shutdown is going to go for? And who's going to bend first, the Democrats or the Republicans?
The conservative members of Congress are already looking at kind of a short-term increase in the debt ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
Obama, I believe, said that he would consider something like that. So I think what they're looking to do is perhaps to I think the House will pass a short-term stopgap bill to temporarily raise the debt ceiling. I know they want to get something in return. I don't know that they're going to get it or even a promise of it other than we'll talk after that's done.
Yeah, that's a way of negotiating.
But I think they're going to do that, and that I think what that does by having that temporary debt ceiling or that short-term debt ceiling increase, that takes the Obama administration argument and the Democrat argument of, oh my gosh, dogs and cats living together,
mass hysteria.
It takes that argument completely off the table,
right?
Because we will not default on our debts or be late with a payment or anything like that with that short-term debt ceiling increase. So I think that's going to happen, but that almost puts the ball in the Democrats' court, in my opinion. And I think negotiations will have to start. How long will it be before they reach an agreement, like till everything's settled? I'd say 3 to 4 weeks. That's my guess. I have really nothing substantial, obviously. Our sources haven't told us anything because they don't have any hard and fast numbers right now. Everybody's playing with a poker face.
Right.
I think with this temporary debt ceiling increase, I think it'll pass, and I think that it may gel the Republicans together again.
Yeah.
and with Obamacare kind of being the crux of the issues. Look, Boner has a lot of support right now. You talked about it last segment. But really, the Republican base hasn't been energized in a long time.
No, and this is doing it.
The conservative base is doing it. So regardless of what the polls say about whose fault it is or whose fault it is not, the base is energized, and it has not been in a while. I think with this temporary increase, Obama will now start some kind of negotiations. I think that there will have to be some sort of reduction in spending and some sort of serious fiscal plan put into place in order to get the House to act. Now, I don't know that the House will have an opportunity to act on Obamacare,
right?
But I think that the Republicans, the conservatives, will get something in terms of long-term debt reduction done out of this administration, or some sort of spending cuts or something of that nature in exchange for this debt ceiling increase.
Well, my biggest fear is that they're going to say, hey, you pass this and then we'll negotiate on X, Y, and Z, and they pass it and nothing happens, which has happened in the past.
Mm-hmm.
The Republicans bend and try to be the nice guys, and it's come back to bit them in the rear end time and time again.
Mm-hmm.
That's my fear. That's what I don't want to see them get caught into, doing that good faith promise and going into something with good faith to have it be yet again thrown in their face.
But you know what? If it does, they've acted, right? They've acted. They got something. Hey, you know what? You wanted us to think we'll give you a temporary increase in the debt ceiling. Fine, Obamacare's off the table. I think that's what you're going to see. Obamacare's off the table,
right.
And hey, let's talk about some serious spending cuts. I want to talk about debt reduction and spending cuts. We gave you your temporary increase. Now you want us to open the government again fully. You want us to fund everything that you want funded. Let's talk about how we're seriously going to cut spending, and let's reach an agreement on that front. Fine, we'll leave Obamacare off the table. We'll let the voters deal with it when it fails. They're already seeing, right?
Yeah.
Something came out today saying, hey, these glitches in this government system could take months to hash out. The public is seeing that it sucks. That's a technical term.
Hard.
Okay? They're seeing that it sucks. And they already were against it. Last poll I saw was like 66%. I believe that number is going to be higher now.
It's going to be in the 70s.
And I think what this deal is going to do is it's going to give the Democrats a win. It's going to give the Republicans a win. And we're far enough away from the midterm elections that this shutdown won't be fresh in the voters' minds, and they'll remember the Obamacare thing, which can be thrown up at that point. So overall, I think it's going to be a win for the Republicans, even though short-term they're taking a hit in the polls. I think it's going to be a long-term win.
Well, and I do agree with that.
Which part? I said a lot.
The latter part about Obamacare
but not the
being
first
a
part.
loss. No, I agree with the first part.
So
I agree with
all
the majority of your statement.
Okay, so what do you disagree with?
I'm going to continue on what you said and talking about Obamacare at the elections. I think at that point, too, one of the things that the conservatives will have is the hard evidence after almost a year of operation, or 9, 10 months of operation, of how much healthcare costs has actually gone up for a lot of the people.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be able to have that redistribution of wealth conversation again. Is, hey, yeah, you know what? This guy got healthcare for $50 a month, but this person who was spending $70 a month previously is now spending $150 to pay for that person. They're going to be able to bring that up. They're going to highlight any and all of its failures, and there will be a majority of failures. They'll hopefully at that point be able to highlight the doctor shortages and start to bring up other ideas to fix healthcare that have been tossed around. And we talked about it a little bit when Greg was on. You have that concierge-style doctor service that's starting to gain traction and really become more popular.
And that's where they park your car for you. They give you the keys. While they're handing you the keys, they stick your finger in their butt through your prostate. And is that what you mean by concierge doctor service?
No, a little bit different.
Oh, I'm thinking valet.
Like
I'm thinking valet. I apologize. I was thinking valet. I don't even know what a concierge is. I thought it was a valet. I'm sorry.
It's almost like joining in a club. But
right. Doc, why do you have both hands on my shoulders?
And why do you keep moving your van every week? It's the weirdest thing in the world.
Hey, you misspelled free on free candy. I don't.
I talk to my friends, and I'm the only one that comes in for this exam weekly. I know you're the doctor and I'm not. I'm not trying to question you.
Yeah, hey, look, I know you have government buy-off, but I just... So I think the redistribution argument is a non-starter for Republicans. I do. And it's sad.
Because it is.
But because there is such a large percentage of the population that is on some form of quote-unquote assistance, right? Look, some assistance is needed, and that's fine. I have no problem with that. A lot of it is crap.
Yeah.
But you have so many people that are on the dole that it's the redistribution argument really doesn't. Yeah, not on Bob Dole, because that'd be gross.
Right. Sorry, go on.
Bob Dole doesn't on Bob Dole. Bob Dole's on Bob Dole. Mrs. Dole's on Bob Dole. Bob Dole's on Bob Dole. With the pen.
But I love the fact while you're doing the impression, though, you were holding the pen in your hand.
I was, like in one spot. And for most of our listeners that are younger, Google Bob Dole, and that'll be funny later.
And not the Urban Dictionary Bob Dole, but go on.
Yeah, that's something completely different.
Moving on.
Make sure your safe search is on for that. You're dirty tonight. I don't know what the problem is.
You are off the hook tonight.
And so I think that redistribution argument, I really don't think it's going to get. I don't think it gets Republicans as far as it used to. You know what would get them as far as was is if they passed a law saying you had to have skin in the game to vote. So you had to be. Never mind. That's. I'm sure somebody will say that's racist and hateful, and people should be able to vote themselves free shit out of the Treasury.
Well, and then somebody would be like, "Why does shirt and skins have anything to do with it?"
Right. I don't understand. Are we playing touch football? And if we're playing touch football, why aren't we all skins? I mean, let's just. I don't get this. This is weird.
I think you're right. I think they're going to have enough ammunition going into the midterms.
Well, they're not, because the federal government bought it all, and that's another issue.
I think they're going to have enough evidence going into the midterms to really do some damage and maybe pick
hard
up
evidence.
Hard evidence.
Will Boner have hard evidence?
To pick up some good seats, hopefully in both the House and the Senate, and maybe make that push for 2016. You know, the one thing that, and I know everyone's throwing around Ted Cruz and stuff, but after these midterms coming up, we do have to worry about 2016 and the momentum that we have going into the midterms. The thing that the GOP did awful the last set of midterms, where we voted everyone the hell out and picked up a lot of conservative seats, is they let that momentum die going into that presidential election. That is something that I hope they've learned their lesson from.
And that's why Greg Phillips, I think, is doing such a tremendous service. To continue it on.
Yep. This conversation can't end just because
we're off the air in 40 minutes.
40 minutes. The conversation can't end because we get to the midterms. That's what happened the last time. You and I both saw that. We had all that steam going in, and then people backed way off. Mm-hmm. And that is something I'm afraid is going to happen, and that the left will start pulling up just BS again to try to trounce it, if you will. And you know, we say it all the time. The left has done an amazing job, as much as we may hate to admit it. The left has done an amazing job of owning the media, owning the quote-unquote facts, especially going into elections. And the Republicans need to really, and the GOP and the conservatives, need to really get on, maybe playing a little bit dirty, and I'm not saying make up lies or anything like that, but they stay above that bar of I don't want to sling dirt until I get dirt slung at me. And it may be time to really go into the bowels of some of these, not physically, but into the bowels of some of these people's background. Get some early vetting done. You know, make them own votes that they've made and not be able to walk them back. The left constantly gets to walk back stupid stuff that they've done. I mean, you look at the president.
Name one.
The president voted against the last debt ceiling increase because the Republicans...
That's not important right now.
Nobody's talking about it right now.
We're talking about it right now.
When he was a senator, he voted against it.
And that could be a huge vote.
Right.
At a time like this.
Right.
In the Senate.
Right.
At least he's not a hypocrite.
So that's something that we need to really start avoiding.
Look, and I want to point to something real quick before we take a call. I want to point to something about why I think we're actually gaining steam instead of losing steam. 11 counties in Colorado 11 now.
We're up
Remember
to
when
11.
we talked it was 1 or 2?
There
11.
was 3, I think, when we first discussed it. There were 3 different counties.
And 1 in California. Now there's 2 in California. California, of all places, which, hey, I don't blame them. We'll talk about some laws if we have time in the last 30 minutes
We'll
of the
get
show.
to them.
But they want to form a 51st state, a new Colorado, as it were. And they've put a 51st state initiative on the ballot coming up. I believe November 5th is
They've also announced another recall of a senator.
Another senator.
Yeah.
And I think the Democrats only hold like a 1 senator lead in
so
that
this would
state.
balance.
But they are Weld County, Logan County, Sedgwick, Phillips, Washington, Kit Carson, Yuma, Cheyenne, Lincoln, and Elbert. Moffett County in northwestern Colorado is also putting the issue to a vote. How awesome would it be if they were like split, like 1 county in the northwestern part, and then the other 11 are on the eastern part?
Yeah, but
you know what? They're troopers. I have to take a
drive
crash.
to another state to get my state. If you have 5 or 6 and then maybe 2 not and 1 on the side, you might have a better chance of getting those 2 in the middle to actually think about it now, because it's hard to be that starter, that 1 county, and now that you have protection on both sides, you may get counties that are a little afraid to do it, to step in and do it.
Well, I like the other issues that are driving this movement also. The big push was obviously the gun issue,
right,
and the gun laws that were passed there. The other issues are the laws regarding civil unions, executions, and renewable energy. I want to live there if they succeed. If they succeed and secede.
I want to go there. So, before we go into break, our good friend Ken from the Exceptional Conservative Show is on the air. Ken, good evening, sir. How are you?
Good evening, my malcontent political assassins of the Democrat Party. You, my friend.
Assassins. I like that. How about political snipers? Can we be political snipers just because they're so much cooler?
Can we just be like political knee breakers?
No, because that'd be like, what's that skater's name?
You are terrorists causing dramatic chaos in America. Until you all started raving about such unnecessary things like debt and deficit,
what do you mean
I was able to go to the Grand Canyon to get married. Now,
it's impossible.
You're welcome for stopping that.
You're lying because it was closed.
Exactly. Listen, my horse is upset because I had promised her that we would get married.
You guys went all the way to Arizona and it was closed.
Did you say horse with an S?
Hey, they haven't passed that law just yet, so it's just 1 horse. Listen, I may sleep with the jackasses, but I only marry 1 horse.
Hey, listen. We all know what the symbol of the Democratic Party is, and I'm the first one in line to fuck Democrats. So let's do this.
Hey, there's a great T-shirt out there right now. It shows a picture of a jackass, and it says, take your Second Amendment laws and shove them up here, and it's just a picture of the Democrat ass. I thought that was outstanding.
You know what? I want to make a T-shirt with the Republican elephant mounting the jackass, with like a big shit-eating grin on his face, and like the eyes at half mast, waving a flag and a gun in the other hand. I think that would be great. I'd put that on my 9-year-old daughter and make her wear it to school.
with her NRA hat. There you go.
That's right.
Anthony
hey,
Peters,
she's a member.
Anthony
Don't laugh.
Peters, I am very sorry. We were not talking about you being the elephant. So I apologize for that misconstruence in this conversation. We were definitely referring to you.
Or the donkey in that situation. And Ken is not the white
elephant. Better be a receiver sometimes. Not when it's an elephant, though. Oh, my goodness. You all were talking just a few moments ago, and I wanted to enlighten the audience in terms of why you are so apt and so correct, okay, regarding the fact that there's a great deal of momentum going towards this particular election. Number one, Cory Booker just might lose in New Jersey, at least from recent polling that we've seen. Now, that's probably. I'm sorry?
Did you say Mr. Bookman?
No, not Mr. Bookman. He lost his election.
Oh,
He's in line for diabetes treatment under the Obamacare program. Good luck with that.
So, Ken, I started thinking last week about Cory Booker's race, and Bloomberg just pumped about $1 million into it because he's up against the ropes so bad, and they thought that was going to be a slam dunk. They really did.
Exactly.
Like, I don't think Democrats at all thought that was going to be a fight. And then you have this Tea Party guy who is really making a go of it. And he's, 3 or 4 point separation right now and a margin of error of like 3 on the last poll I saw.
I got news for you. The last poll that was sent to me shows that he's up by 9.
Wow.
That's scary. That's why you had Obama talk about negotiating today. The biggest thing is that on the 16th there's an election in New Jersey. On the 17th, apparently, we're supposed to be going to default. If that doesn't happen and Booker loses, it could be a very bad hair day for President Obama, as he would have to then explain why the Earth didn't crash into the sun and how we were able to make it another day in America with $18 trillion worth of debt, and now a new Tea Party, anarchist, racist.
Keep going. You're on the right track.
There you go. Well, there you go. I think we're on course, gentlemen, and I do want to say this. I didn't have a chance to say it on my show, but I want to say it on yours. There are only 17 men worth voting for next year in the U.S. Senate, if any of them are running. There are only 17 men worth supporting, and those were the ones who supported Ted Cruz in the U.S. Senate.
Yep.
All the others, including Lindsey, I'd rather be in Manhattan, Graham. Need to go. They need to. There you go.
Hey, Ken, you're on that side of the country, and you're right in the belly of the beast a lot of times, and you get a lot of the inside stuff that we just can't get. Is it?
Yeah.
Have you heard rumblings that Lieutenant Colonel West is starting to throw his name back around again to run?
Oh well, his name is often uttered, but the problem with Lieutenant Colonel West is that he had 2 years,
right,
and then he's out.
Right.
He needs to run for either some type of governorship, maybe of Florida, maybe of Georgia, or at least U.S. Senate to be taken real.
Well, I meant the next set of midterms for Senate. I've read a couple chat rooms and a couple tweets here and there where they're saying he may have formed a little bit of a committee to start going after a Senate seat, and he's kind of testing the waters.
Yeah, well, Georgia's off the map now because you have Bourne and a few other really, really serious conservative. And you talk about extremely, man. These guys are right there signing the Constitution with George. And Florida is the only other option, and I don't see it right now. I just don't see it. Maybe a little bit later, but I don't see it right now. I think he'd like to make a little bit more money doing the chicken circuit, just a little bit.
Yeah, I would love to see him run though. I think he's a great guy. I think he'd be great, and Dr. Carson as well. But hey, Ken, we're up against the break. Do you want to hold because we have some interesting laws that just came out in California that are now
weigh in on, if you don't mind.
Yeah, do you mind holding on? I'll pick you up on the other side.
Are you talking about my weight now?
Yeah. All right, so Ken's going to be on hold. We'll be back in a minute here on the Crackheads Radio Show.
if you care about what's going on in the world, you cannot afford to miss my show. Hi, this is Andrea Kay, your host of The Andrea Kay Show. It's not always about the money. Okay, it is always about the money, but it's also about politics, pop culture, and you. The only thing street about this show is the smarts. There's a reason they call me Dynamite in a Dress, and you'll find out why when you listen Tuesday mornings at 10 on Financial News and Talk.
Hello, I'm Paul, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is my professor, Dr. Larry Arnn, on the separation of church and state.
America's founders believed in the separation of church and state, in that the country was not to have an official religion or an official sect. But that did not mean that government was to be hostile to religion, or even indifferent to religion, as many today argue. In fact, America's founding document, the Declaration of Independence, includes both a reference to God as the author of the laws of nature and a confident assertion that human beings are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. Far from being hostile or indifferent to religion, America's founders understood the theology of the Declaration to be an essential part of the education of citizens.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.org.
How you doing? John Grant here. When I'm not slaving over a hot microphone on the 405radio.com Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, I check out Sean and Clint here at Sackheads Radio. We all appreciate the best political bloggers, writers, and commentators. We either get them on our shows or we make fun of them, as it should be. So check us out live Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern or forever on the podcasts on the 405radio.com.
3, 2, 1.
Hey, this is Sackhead Clint. I want to take this opportunity to thank all the wingnut leaders throughout the world, to give our men and women of the armed forces a job, as well as all the anarchists, terrorists, and Occupy folks that give our men and women in uniform on the home front, firefighters, law enforcement personnel, and first responders, job security here in the States as well. So thank all you wingnuts out there. This is Sackhead Clint saying have a good day.
Now back to Clint and Sean on Sackheads Radio, radiating elegancy and quality.
What break?
What? There was a break in there?
Joining us still on the phone is our good friend Ken from the Exceptional Conservative Show.
Ken is an exceptional conservative.
Ken is just exceptional.
Hold on.
Listen, Ken,
Rich. Hold on, Rich. I'm going to get you some more blow in a few minutes. Okay, yeah, I'm back on, man.
I love Ken's show. He's a different person on our show.
It kills me.
And I think that's why he calls in. Because he can let his hair down and go crazy, and I mean, fuck it, it's not his show, right? So he's inappropriate.
He can say
whatever he wants,
and we can be the jerks.
And we're enablers.
We are enablers.
Which is great.
Hey, so I love the fact that I have to go through and mark all this.
Did you notice how he doesn't invite us to call in on his show? He doesn't want any of this shit on his show.
He actually has invited us. Don't you dare do that.
My mom listens. You know, like if like I have to be very serious because like my mom, she's upstairs making peanut butter sandwiches for me, and like she comes into the basement sometimes, and I gotta be very careful about who's on.
Where's Halo? Hey, my mom listens to the show too. We don't care. But I'm from the Northeast, so it's perfectly accepted. Hey, Ken.
She's like, hey, I didn't hear a motherfucker or a shit the entire show.
She actually yells at me if I don't cuss. The funniest thing.
Come on, there's no girl. Get out of here.
Hey, Ken, there's 3 lots now, and as we've talked before about California being the petri dish. There's 3 laws.
Hang on, the petri dish of
liberal bacteria.
There you go. I before you get into this, I want to give a quick background, if I may.
Yeah.
I want to talk about California's Proposition 187.
I'm sorry, y'all have moved past petri dish. You're more like a boiler.
It's actually
gone,
more like an Occupy principle. There's just stuff growing everywhere. Happy birthday, Occupy, by the way.
So Proposition 187 passed in California in like '94, and it passed pretty overwhelmingly. If you look at a map of the yeses versus the nos in the state, it's like the entire state of California is green, with the Bay Area being red for the no votes, and it passed 59% to 41%, 59% to 41% in favor. And basically, what it did is it did a few things, but it said that no person shall receive public social services until he or she has been verified as a United States citizen or as a lawfully admitted alien. They also said that, hey, public elementary or secondary schools shall not admit the attendance of a child until they meet those requirements, and that by '96, each school district had to verify the legal status of each child. Basically, the state of California knew that they were going to be in financial trouble just based on the rate of illegal immigration into the state, and that they with the services they were getting, they couldn't afford it. It was unsustainable. The voters overwhelmingly passed it, and right away, of course, the Mexican American Legal Defense and Educational Fund and the American Civil Liberties Union filed lawsuit and got the law stopped. Now, yeah, so it went into courts back and forth. A court said, the state court said, listen, it's unconstitutional because immigration is a federal government thing, and even though you're talking about state funding, we think it's an end around basically to immigration, and you can't do that. It was not a legally correct ruling because it talked about state benefits, not immigration policy per se. So in the midst of the fight, Governor Pete Wilson, who was the last Republican governor, well, Arnold Schwarzenegger, really, but the last true Republican was Pete Wilson.
Right.
And
Arnie's a Republican.
Yeah. If you're married to a Kennedy, you're not a Republican. So
no, you're not.
So Wilson challenged the law. Well, Gray Davis was elected and basically dropped the challenge, the appeal to the Ninth Circuit. Never filed it, never finished the filing, so the law died. Schwarzenegger never took up the fight. Brown sure as heck is not going to take up the fight. So the people passed something overwhelmingly in order to stop this kind of thing, and now the Democrats in the state of California have a supermajority. There is nothing the Republicans can do to stop any legislation that the Democrats want. The only saving grace sometimes is Governor Brown, who actually, he's socially ridiculously liberal, but he is actually conservative on some fiscal matters, not his $80 billion train or however much it's going to cost.
Yeah.
But he's fiscally conservative on some things, so he hasn't been too horrible. Now, with that, I don't want to showbiz some of the laws he passed here because Sean is just itching to talk about some of these. But I wanted to give some of our listeners who are non-California residents a little bit of background into this battle with criminal aliens that's kind of raged here dating back to the early 90s.
Well, I don't even know where to start now because you've done so much for me, but I'll start. First of all, the driver's license. California passed this new law
Wait.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It was a pause.
That permits illegal aliens to now obtain a driver's license legally in the state of California. The other part of it that I thought was interesting was there's going to be a mark on that license to essentially say, hey, this person is illegal, but this driver's license is legal. So you have a criminal alien with a legal driver's license with a mark on it saying, hey, I'm a criminal alien. They happen to throw into that law that you cannot use that mark on that driver's license as a reason to not hire that person. So now you're going to get into discrimination lawsuits, which it's funny because I'm going to talk to about a couple about who can become lawyers now in California.
But isn't there a federal law that says that you can't?
If you hire an illegal alien,
you're in violation of federal law.
You're in violation of federal law. So even though the state is actually presenting you with evidence to not hire and actually protect yourself from hiring, because I can tell you as a boss, I've had a couple people who have presented all the right documentation, everything matched, the Social Security number came back matching to that name for that person, and it turned out that they were actually illegal and they couldn't be employed.
And like a boss, you didn't hire them.
Right. And Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
But now there's this driver's license with
take $50 in the back of the truck. I'm not hiring you though.
Yeah. So you give me. So wait a second. So you give me a license that says you're here criminally, and a social security number that must be bogus because I already know you're here criminally, which I can't report.
Let me tell you one of the amazing arguments that I've heard. Well, this way, if the person is one of the felony immigrants, the ones that they'll actually deport, we now have their address on file. And I said, really, you think there's going to be that much honesty when they're filling out this BS driver's license? Have you seen what they've come up with in the past in order to illegally work and get money? I mean, they've had incidents with guys getting using Social Security numbers of like 5 or 6 dead people and collecting the Social Security and working under those numbers. So, yes, they're going to now all of a sudden, because you're going to give them permission to drive, they're now all of a sudden going to be honest about who they are and where they live. Oh, but now, they have to carry insurance. No, because the information on their license is a lie. So why do they need to carry insurance? They can hit somebody, give them this fake information, drive away, and you'll never find them again. So it is a completely...
Listen, that's not true because they have to prove California residency. And obviously, you cannot fake documents like that.
See there, all right. This is a legit law then.
So that's law number one. And again, this is going to be a test bed, I'm sure, for some sort of liberal on a federal level to push through illegal immigrants getting certain statuses as we go forward with amnesty and all that stuff.
Well, Mary made a good point. She said California is only good at propositions. That's true. However, the liberal, corrupt system that is in California, any conservative proposition that passes immediately gets dragged into court. Liberal judges put stays on that legislation. Look what just happened to Proposition 8 in California, right? And then they tie it up in legal battles forever. And so the California voters, just like Proposition 187 that I mentioned previously, and other conservative measures that actually get passed, the will of the people are ignored anyways. And then the same damn people elect the same damn Democrats into office.
Yeah. Well, I want to say this. You all are so slow and you're progressive. Yes. I mean, the Marxist-Leninists of Maryland and Washington, D.C. have beaten you all to the punch. They've already passed laws to allow illegal aliens to drive with ID that's provided by the state. So they're going to be people driving between.
California is hitting the gas pedal on these crazy progressive policies because there's no way we're falling behind in craziness.
Right. We need to get to the
No. The reason I want to say this to you all is be very careful because you think the federal government wants to stop this. No. Every law that is passed in the District of Columbia has to be approved by Congress. Congress has approved that law. So be careful because the GOP are working right now behind the scenes in creating a comprehensive, hit the air quotes everybody, comprehensive immigration policy. And the sad thing is this is just the tip of the iceberg. And I know that you all also have, well, you all are further ahead of us than the rest of the country. I really appreciate how progressive you guys are. You allow people who got their certificate of law from Chico's Bar and Grill down in Mexico to come here and practice law. I am so give it up for California.
That's what I was just going to bring up. So when the amnesty laws are being drawn up, who are you going to get to do that? Illegal or criminal alien lawyers, non-citizens who can now be lawyers in the state of California, argue in front of the state Supreme Court. If you get arrested or if you get detained illegally or if you want to file a civil suit because somebody didn't hire you because they used your state-issued driver's license to determine that you were a criminal alien and did not want to get sued or did not want to hire you so they didn't get, put in prison by the feds or fined by the feds, they can now hire a lawyer who is just as criminal and understand the plight that you're going through and how hard your life is.
If they hire a criminal lawyer, a
criminal
alien lawyer, then they're employing a criminal alien, and would they not themselves be liable?
No, because it's a contract versus direct employment.
Oh.
So, yes, you now have that amazing ability. Also,
I can't tell you if you retain me. That's attorney-client privilege.
Yeah, absolutely. This also debunks another fallacy that's been going on is, the criminal aliens are only doing the jobs in the field that the Americans don't want to do. Like practicing law as an attorney? Because the last time I checked, they were all American prior to, 3 days ago.
Yeah, there are a lot of nuclear scientists that don't want to work at the plants anymore, so we need to import those new workers.
I hear Iran has a bunch of them that are really good right now. Let's start bringing them over there. This is the fact that they would do this with the rule of law and people who are supposed to be custodians of said law and protect both the law, the state, and the people all kind of equally. We know lawyers don't do that in California, but they're supposed to. And now they're going to say, I'm going to take a criminal alien, an illegal immigrant from another country. It doesn't even have to be Mexico. It probably will be, but it doesn't have to be.
Zimbabwe.
And they can now practice law and
Russia.
fight.
Putin could take the California bar and practice law.
How funny would that be?
I would.
Well,
I would
actually,
love
he
to
would
do that.
steal the California bar.
Right in.
He would right in. Yeah. Okay, so I have two things.
But now you have this illegal who can now argue the laws. Criminal who can now argue the laws of this country and the state, at least on a state level. And if it passes on the state level and it goes to the Fed, will the Fed recognize his argument because he's an illegal immigrant? What if it's on illegal immigration? You know what I mean? Doesn't anyone see what a dangerous path that is?
Look, I have two things. First of all, I think the next law that should be proposed in California, because you have criminal aliens now that are going to be able to practice law, I think all judges and all court proceedings and all jurors have to be bilingual. Because think about it, if they have to be, because otherwise you're discriminating against them. Because they are criminal aliens and they are Mexican citizens, they speak their national language, yet they can legally argue in a court of law. If those judges don't understand Spanish and they're arguing through an interpreter that's not very effective, they can be stereotyped and have a negative judgment made of the attorney because of that by some racist that still may exist in California. And so everybody should be required to understand.
No.
Why not?
I really think that California should be the next. California should be the first state of the United Nations. It really should, and I think we should move the UN there.
I am shocked that it wasn't moved here a long time ago.
The second thing I have is, now we as conservatives disagree with the laws based upon principle. Okay, we disagree with the laws. However, I want to throw this out, and I'm prepared for the Twitter feed and the hate mail from our conservative people here. Does California have the legal authority to issue driver's licenses to them based upon the 10th Amendment, states' rights? And do the people not have an opportunity, like a lot of conservatives have done, quite frankly, to vote with their feet and to move out of the state and just let it break off into the ocean?
Well,
because I think constitutionally California can enact these measures, just like Proposition 187. This is just the polar opposite of it. I think states' rights allows them to issue the license to drive in their state. Arizona, Nevada, Oregon, they don't have to honor that, right?
Right.
But California can issue it, and if they want to allow criminal aliens to practice law in their state, as ridiculous as that sounds to us as conservatives, because we understand true principles and doctrine, legally, constitutionally, I think they can do it.
Here's what's going to happen.
What do you think?
I don't know about the attorneys. Here's what's going to happen with the driver's license.
No. What do you think constitutionally? Can they do it?
Sure.
Okay. Ken?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Why not? What precludes the state from granting a privilege to drive within their state?
Article 1, Section 8, Clause 3, regarding the Commerce Clause, the enumerated power of the federal government. You cannot guarantee that one entity will stay within the boundaries of the state in which they are actually driving. Their personal, whatever their personal interests. whether it's a passenger or business-related activity, it is still an activity that requires access to commerce, access to federal transportation, access. Can't do that, man. Yeah, man,
See, I disagree. I disagree because I think that's almost the liberal interpretation of the commerce, which is commerce affects everything, when really it was meant just to regulate the actual trade between the states to make sure there was no unfair tariffs or anything like that put on between the states themselves. But if
that's true, then Obamacare is a lie.
It is, and that's why the Commerce Clause has been inappropriately interpreted by the federal courts. And as conservatives, I think we can all agree on that. And this is the same argument, but in reverse. So if California wants to allow state-named roads,
Clint just told me that Obama lied to me. What's the next thing? What's the next thing? There's no Santa Claus? Go ahead, Clint. Tell me.
I didn't want you to sit down.
I'm not going to say that, but what I'm saying
I want you to sit down, put a cold compress on your head, take some deep breaths. I know this is upsetting.
Yeah, what I'm saying is I think the Commerce Clause doesn't apply to state business. It'd be like a gun manufacturer that wants to make firearms and sell them exclusively in that one state. Federal government can't touch it. Federal government can't touch this because California is not saying, hey, it's okay to illegally immigrate here. What they're saying is, hey, you're here illegally, criminally. The feds can deport you if they want because they're in control of immigration per the U.S. Constitution. However, we will allow you to drive within our state.
Well, and we got to move on because I have at least one more topic we got to get to with 5 minutes left because it's kind of a big one. My last thought on the driver's licensing is that it's a political stunt. Of course it is. It's going to be fought in court and it's going to get dropped.
Well, it depends. The Ninth Circuit is no way is going to drop that.
No, it'll get appealed all the way up, and it'll be found.
If the U.S. Supreme Court hears it.
Right. But I think it'll get dropped, and then the liberals in the state get to say, hey, we tried. Just look at what those nasty conservatives
I don't think the U.S. Supreme Court's going to touch it. It's a states' rights issue.
Well, we'll see.
And as a conservative, I have to argue states' rights. I don't like it as a conservative. I think it's crap, but it's a states' rights issue.
Whether or not, I think it's going to get argued all the way up.
Okay.
Or it'll get overturned in 50 years when California doesn't exist and it reopens as a state of Jefferson. My last one is Governor Brown. I had two more, but I'll go to one more. Governor Brown signed in a bill today which authorizes nurse practitioners, physician's assistants, certified nurses, midwives to perform aspirations, a type of first trimester abortion that involves inserting a small tube cervix to remove fetuses. You want to talk about a war on women, first of all, and I think this is a big one, and I'll tell you why. It's essentially saying, hey, even though the doctors used to have to do this, now, and I'm not saying that the other people aren't medically trained, but now we're going to dumb it down, and we're going to start all these abortions in rural areas and all that as part of the reason that they argued it with it. But you no longer have a medical doctor performing the surgical procedure that, depending on how you look at it, ends a life.
Look, it is an invasive procedure. Invasive.
Right.
Sorry, it is an invasive procedure. And look, I think the reason they did this is because they know Obamacare is going to completely obliterate the supply of medical doctors in the state of California.
Exactly.
So they need somebody to be able to continue the abortion fight.
And this was heavily pushed through.
It's a conspiracy.
I'm sure you're shocked, but can you guess who was one of the biggest pushes for this in the state to pass?
It's not Planned Parenthood.
It was, in fact, Planned
Parenthood.
Yes. It was, in fact, Planned Parenthood. And I know, and Mary brought up a good point about abortions being harmful, and we can have the right to abortion or not argument later. Just the simple fact that right now the law of the land says it's legal whether you agree or not. And it used to be a medical doctor had to do it, and they are now dumbing it down in order for Obamacare to be able to pay for it and have enough medical personnel to complete it.
Look,
so they can meet the demand for the supply.
It would be a different story if, like, somebody like Margaret Sanger had started Planned Parenthood as a eugenics project.
She did.
In order to in order to get rid of the African Americans.
She wanted to control the African American population.
So that'd be different if somebody started abortion for that purpose. That's what happened. Then somebody like the Nazis actually picked up and ran with it and tried to use it for the Jewish population. That'd be different. But that actually happened. No. It'd be different if that actually happened. That's what I'm saying.
Hey, Ken, when you ask yourself, should I get an on-air partner? And you really want to sit down and you're like, wouldn't it be fun to have that second person to sit across the table and throw ideas off of? Go back and listen to the show. Go on, Clint.
And then listen to how awesome our dialogue was,
It
and
was
why
tremendous.
we're so popular, and why we are dominating late night conservative talk. That's all I'm saying.
I agree with you. But this is, to me,
but you know,
like. Go ahead.
I have this to say. I don't believe, and I have to go back and do some research on this. I don't believe that abortion was made legal with Roe v. Wade. I believe with Roe v. Wade, the decision was made that the privacy of the patient-doctor confidence exists, and that it's up to the state to make determinations on such care. I don't believe that abortion was made legal. Now, I have to ask some legal scholars on that particular method. I think that's one of the biggest myths that's been carried over for generations now. The second thing is, I don't know how any African-American, Hispanic, Asian, or any other, especially redskin, could possibly, I'm sorry, Indian, because we're not allowed to say. I'm sorry, Native American, because we're not allowed to say Indian or redskin.
And you certainly can't say Washington Redskins according to the president. So go on.
I don't know how any of them could wake up in the morning and sign on to a party that was inspired by Margaret Sanger. And 1,100 black babies died today from abortion in the United States of America. And this same administration is taking those policies to Africa and devastating populations of people with this liberal nonsense. Simply put, I am pro-person. Life begins at God's ordination, not even at conception. And it's not because of rape or incest. It doesn't matter how the backseat of the car looked or what happened. You came that you were deserving of being here to live out your days living under Nancy Pelosi. Suffer. But the bottom line is that law is an affront to any human being. And if there are Democrats or liberals that believe in human rights, they should start by exonerating us as conservatives on this particular issue, and also promoting a pro-personhood legislative agenda. That's a really saddening effect. And I concur with you that they are planning on doctors leaving Obamacare, and eventually someone's going to have to touch Roe v. Wade again very soon on these particular matters. And they may find that this court may go 5-4 in a different direction. And I think they've made their attempt at this. This also tells you why we need to have the election of 2016 go very, very conservative, because there are going to be at least 4 Supreme Court justices that will be leaving in the next administration.
Yeah, and believe me, I hope that the conservative judges that are in there now have the absolute best health care that they can pay for, because they're going to need it, and they need to be well for a long time. Somebody asked me about this law we were talking about earlier today, and I know we're a couple minutes over. We're in extended time now, if you will. But they said, well, they're medical professionals. These folks are going to be trained. And I said, well, yeah, they're trained, but to me, it's almost like an aircraft mechanic now being able to fly the plane. Like, yeah, they understand how the plane works. They understand how the plane operates. They've seen a pilot fly it a few times, but that's not their primary function. And now you're going to make it there. Like, all of a sudden, you're in the jump seat. We gave you 8 hours of training, but you've seen it done a few times. Go. It's that scary to me. And I'm afraid that this is going to lead to a much more of these Dr. Kermit horrendous abortion clinics that we saw in Philadelphia, because now nurse practitioners are going to start popping up and doing their own. They're going to get the funding and do what they can to do their own abortion clinics. And it's going to be so much harder to actually maintain and have the health department in there because they're going to be popping up like crazy in the state now. I think.
It's almost kind of like somebody watches Sean Hannity, right? And he has a great show. And somebody from the left says, yeah, look, I can do that. I can get a great show. And they say, okay, Pierce, go ahead, give it a try. It doesn't work out well.
All of a sudden, it's some British ninny just yelling at everybody who comes on. So that's this is just scary to me, and this shows you how dangerous a straight liberal supermajority can be.
Or a gay liberal supermajority. We don't discriminate. I mean, it doesn't have to be straight. We didn't mean to offend anybody when Sean said a straight liberal majority. It could be whatever sexual, non-gender specific liberal orientation, I think is what he was going for. So I apologize.
And you don't even have to be human. No human.
Right.
You could be an alien. Right. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
We love you.
It doesn't matter.
Listen,
it's all about
Tanya
love. Who are we the... What?
Can I say this real quick? Tanya Reeves was a black woman in Chicago. Speaking of a safe neighborhood to live in, Tanya Reeves was a young woman who happened to be pregnant, decided that she wanted to go with an abortion. She had her abortion at Planned Parenthood. They let her go. She called and told them that she was bleeding hours after the abortion. They told her that she could come back next week. She bled for 5.5 hours. She never had an opportunity to call 911. Her unborn child was mutilated and aborted, and she died. Abortion is about life. And no matter how many people say it in the best Obama-esque terminologies and semantics, human beings die because of abortion. And we're not truly human, and nor are we truly American, as long as there is one Planned Parenthood opened, whether in an urban community, suburban community, or rural area. And quite frankly, we need to move to a more just society where we make certain that our choices are real and true and not pushed on us by those of the progressive left who do not see life of anyone else more important than their own.
Well, I wish I could follow that up with something intelligent.
You know what? We could do a whole 2 hours on the abortion
subject.
Discussion alone. Especially, I mean, there are the gamut from it's all women's choice all the way to abortion is wrong 100% of the time, and then there are those that say, hey, incest, rape, where the mother's life is in dire jeopardy, maybe it's permissible in those cases because you're talking mental health of the mother with a traumatic event, sexual assault, blah blah blah. I mean, there's a huge discussion that could go on from there. We could do a whole show on that. But Ken, as always, my friend, we thank you for your words.
Thank you so much.
And we thank you for calling in. You want to tell people where to find you, sir?
You will probably find me at a bar on the floor, but if I'm not there.
If you're doing it right. If you're doing it right.
The Exceptional Conservative Show, Monday through Thursdays from 9 to 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is always an honor, a privilege, and a pleasure to be on your program, the best late-night talk show in America, Sackheads Radio.
Loving it. And you can also find Ken here as our regular guest and our dear friend, and we love it when you come on and spend time with us, Ken. It's always fun. It's always enlightening. It's always intelligent.
You know what it is? It's like a warm blanket and a cup of hot chocolate curled up in front of the fire on a rainy night. That's what it is with
you. You just called Ken hot chocolate, and
just
I love
so you
every
know.
second.
Did you like that? I didn't say with cream.
You described exactly what I do when I'm sleeping outside. Next to the subway.
In your feety pajamas.
Ken from the Exceptional Conservative Show, thank you so much, sir. Now let me tell you where you can find us. SackheadsRadio.com. We're on Twitter at Sackheads. We are on Facebook. You can find us on iTunes. You can find us just about anywhere. Just Google Sackheads Radio and enjoy the love that is us.
Or the awesomeness.
We are the guardians of the Conservative Party.
We are the snipers.
Yeah.
Right?
Certainly the guardians of the Conservative Party. I love every second of it, too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica and Sacco, for helping out in the studio tonight.
As always, go Oakland A's.
Hey, best of luck to the Oakland A's tomorrow night. Thank you to my Red Sox. We will see you next Wednesday night where we may have a happy Clint or a sad Sean.
Listen.
You never know.
You never know. You never know. It's going to kind of depend on baseball, really, at this point.
We'll see you next week here on the Sackheads Radio. No baseball.